How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Asian Filmist. My name is Ray and I love movies. And the movie I'm going to be talking about today is the 2017 Hollywood adaptation of the very popular Japanese and anime manga Ghost in the Shell. And it's directed by Rupert Sanders. Now, here at Asian Filmist, we don't usually talk about Hollywood movies. But since this is an adaptation of a very famous Japanese work and even stars a very well-known Japanese name, we decided, hey, why the hell not? We thought this movie deserved some discussion. The movie stars Scarlett Johansson, and it even stars Kitano Takeshi, or otherwise known as Beat Takeshi, a very popular director, actor, and comedian from Japan. And just a little background on the original work. So the original manga was written by Shiro Masamune, and the original anime movie was directed by Oshii Mamoru. And the original animated movie, for many anime fans, including myself, it's one of those works that kind of defined what anime is or should be. And not only that, it would set the bar high for many of the themes and tropes we would see in many sci-fi movies that were to come after the release of Ghost in the Shell. Some of these themes we would see in The Matrix and even Blade Runner. So needless to say, the original anime and the original manga, they were iconic and they were trend-setting. And that being said, this adaptation had a lot to live up to. It had to appease anime fans, it had to make new fans in order to make some extra cash, and at the same time it had to just be overall a good movie. Now, as you may know, there is a lot of controversy surrounding the casting of Scarlett Johansson in the role as the Major, the lead character. We can dive into that discussion after the review part of this movie. And for those of you who live in Japan and were lucky enough to check it out in the theaters here, more specifically the dub version, you would probably be pleased to find out that the original actors, the original voice actors for the Major, Bato, and Togusa have reprised their roles for the Japanese dub of this release. And so the story of this adaptation, it takes bits and pieces from both the movie and the TV show, the standalone complex, and it kind of makes its own original story out of them. And so in this world, the world of Ghost in the Shell, the lines between humans and machines are kind of blurred, as is now kind of commonplace and acceptable to augment your body with mechanical parts. And so we meet the Major, who's played by Scarlett Johansson, and she's the first of her kind, in which they put a human brain inside an entirely synthetic body. And so when she wakes up, she's trained and she's recruited into this anti-terrorism unit called Section 9, under the guidance of Chief Aramaki, who's played by Beat Takeshi. And so the story of this adaptation revolves around this cyber hacker who the Major and her team have to track down and find out what his real intentions and what his real goals are. And so yeah, that's the story. And before we dive into the actual review part of this video, just want to point out that yes, this video is a bit late, much later than every other discussion on this movie that gets put out on YouTube. But as some of you may or may not know, Japan does get its movies much later than pretty much the rest of the world. And it's just recently that I finally had time to go out and check out this movie. So that's why we're here today. And yeah, so let's talk about what I thought were the pluses of this movie. First of all, the world that this story takes place in is beautiful. There are many beautiful shots of cityscapes and lots of cool holographic billboards throughout the city, very reminiscent of Blade Runner, of which this film helped inspire. And the CG that was used to bring this world to life, it's quite frankly some of the best CG I've ever seen in any kind of movie. And visually it was fantastic, and it was really seamless when blending the world with its cyberpunk elements. And the music, I really enjoyed the music too. It was atmospheric and it really captured the mood that the story was trying to set pretty well. And the action scenes, they were really good too. ScarJo, she definitely is one of the top bankable action heroines at the moment. If Avengers or Lucy didn't put her up in that spot enough, this movie helps solidifies it. And ScarJo's performance, casting controversy aside, she did good. She was good in her job, in her role as the Major. No complaints there. And one thing that I'm still kind of iffy about whether it's a plus or minus is, the world seems to take place in Japan. There's a lot of Japanese being spoken here and there throughout the city. There are lots of billboards with Japanese text, but for some reason there are so many people speaking English and only one main character speaking Japanese, and that character is, if you haven't guessed it, Beat Takeshi as Chief Aramaki. Now, that decision to have Beat Takeshi's character speak Japanese, it could have been done to kind of hammer in the fact that yes, the story does take place in Japan. It could have been done as a homage to the original anime manga, as anime is created in Japan. And it could also have been done because Takeshi doesn't speak English at all. But the way they kind of use that and have Takeshi's character speak Japanese solely, as opposed to the English-speaking members of Section 9, it kind of added to this feature aesthetic. what if in the future everyone is so integrated with their technology that language is no longer a barrier? And at the same time, because there's so many English speakers in the lead and not so many Japanese people, you don't really even see much Japanese people in the background. It could be foretelling of Japan's future. If many of you guys don't know, there is a problem with a declining birth rate of the population here in Japan, and the country really isn't doing anything to kind of solve that problem. So, maybe this is a glimpse, in the future, that the number of Japanese people is diminished so much that we just see a lot of English-speaking foreigners just dominating the country. And it's okay. In sci-fi movies, especially those that take place in the future, it's okay to make these kinds of predictions and create a world that could possibly happen. That's the fun of these movies. And yeah, those are the pluses that I had with Ghost in the Shell. Now, let's talk about the minuses. First of all, other than ScarJo's character, other than the Major, the other characters there were just kind of there. They didn't really have any character growth, not really any character development, and it felt that they were all just added in just as kind of Easter eggs and references to the original work. Now, Bato kind of is there as a main supporting character, but he didn't really go through much growth at all. And without diving too deep into it at all, otherwise we'd be here for a much longer video, this Hollywood adaptation strips down pretty much all of the philosophical themes that were present in the original anime and manga. So pretty much, in order to really enjoy this movie, you have to kind of watch it as a popcorn blockbuster with cool action scenes, cool CG. You can kind of see what they were trying to do. They wanted to sell more tickets, basically. So they wanted to make the movie and story more appealing to the general audience. And they might not have been able to do that if they kept all the original philosophical themes intact. It might have alienated those audiences, those tickets that they're trying to sell. But was that really a good move? Fans of the anime might argue, no, it wasn't. They should have kept all those themes intact. It would have made the story much more deserving of its name, Ghost in the Shell. So yeah, as a fan of the original anime and TV series, I was disappointed, to say the least, that they decided to leave most of those elements out. But at the same time, kind of expected it because, it's Hollywood and they don't have the best track record when it comes to adapting stories that come from overseas. And I feel that bad track record is a result of studio execs not really understanding the original story and also misinterpreting many of the ideas in the original source. But then they know it's popular, they know it has a big fan base, and they want to kind of turn that fan base and make it bigger and sell more tickets and make more money. Overall, the biggest minus I have with this movie is the big revelation that Major has in the final act. And so a bit of a warning for those who haven't seen it yet, we're gonna start talking about spoilers now. Basically, that casting controversy of casting, a non-Asian Scarlett Johansson into an Asian role, a character whose name, Kusanagi Motoko. But if they were to have fully adapted that character into a non-Asian character in this movie, I would have been fine with it. So the Major, her name in the story is Mira Killian. And so that's the name we get introduced to the Major by. But whether they were trying to do it as a homage to the original Japanese work yet again, or just kind of trolling the hell out of people who really didn't like the casting decision, don't know for sure. But basically, the Asian ethnicity of the original character is made into a plot device for the story. If I were to look at this situation without the controversy in mind, like if this was a world where all, full of flowers and rainbows, and we didn't care about casting controversies like this, it would have been interesting. It would have been okay. Probably would have been okay. But you can't really watch this movie and see that plot point happen and unfold in front of you without thinking about that casting controversy. And I don't think it was the best decision. And so basically, to clarify what that plot point is, how I said that the Major is a brain inside of a fully synthetic body? Well, it happens to be that that brain originally belonged to a Japanese girl by the name of Motoko. And so part of the Major's arc is rediscovering her memories, rediscovering her past, and realizing that she was a Japanese girl. So yeah, the decision to kind of have that plot device, it was just adding gasoline to the fire. So that scene in the end where she kind of embraced her Japanese mama, I don't know, that was pretty cringeworthy. And rightfully so, some may argue that the Major should be interpreted as non-ethic because, she's a cyborg. But because Major Mira Killian was originally a Japanese girl named Kusanagi Motoko, and in the end she decided to fully embrace her Asian past and memories memories, it made it really difficult to excuse the film of whitewashing, because that's basically what it was. And for those of you who use the argument that Japanese people and Japanese fans of the original work, Kokaku Gidotai, are actually in approval of Scarlett Johansson's casting. And at the same time, you know, for those of you who are saying that the director of the original animated movie, Oshii Mamoru, approves of the cast and also the story, you guys have to remember a few things. One, you have to remember that Japan, you know, historically is a homogenous country with no history of their own culture being underrepresented in their own media. So they don't exactly understand our concept of and a reaction to underrepresentation via whitewashing. And at the same time, Japanese films do ethnic wash their own characters of foreign origin, so of course, you know, they don't really have a problem with casting a person of a different ethnicity into the character, but you know, that's another video for another time. And to them, like many other countries here in Asia, they praise Western actors and they put them all on the pedestal. And that's why you have actors like Matt Damon and Liam Neeson popping up in films on this side of the world. So yeah, sure, Japanese fans don't care, but can you really take their word into consideration when you figure out that they just love white actors? You know, that's really the main reason why they are in agreement. They are enjoying the fact that ScarJo got casted. But yes, what I want to say about it all is I do think it's whitewashing. It is whitewashing. And I would have been fine with it if they just had fully adapted the character into being white and not having to go back and discover that she was actually Japanese. Because an adaptation is an adaptation, no matter what country might adapt it. And you know, if they were to fully adapt the story and the characters to kind of fit the culture of their respective countries, I think it would have been all fair game. But in the end, good movies are good movies and bad movies are bad. And so the bottom line that I have to say about Ghost in the Shell, it was an okay movie, you know, casting controversy aside, it was okay. It's good for light action and sci-fi entertainment, but nothing deeper than what you would expect from a name like Ghost in the Shell. I definitely recommend this for fans of ScarJo. I mean, she's beautiful. There's really hardly anything you can't enjoy about her, but I probably wouldn't recommend this to fans of the original anime because it would probably rub them the wrong way. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Ghost in the Shell. What did you guys think? Whatever your thoughts are, leave a comment below, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to Asian Filmist for more reviews and discussions on Asian films. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and if you subscribe to our email newsletter, you can receive a free copy of our ebook, The 108 Asian Films for New Fans to Watch. Once again, my name is Ray. You can follow me on Twitter at RayMaru555. And yeah, that's about it, everyone. Alright guys, I'm about to watch some more movies. I'll be back soon, yeah? Promise.